JD from NY. You had touched on him earlier, but he had this to say to Rajgiri. JD says, they don't care anymore. They got their money. This will be the trend, and their fan base will continue to brainwash by management. Gabagool. Happy 5 years for 5 years. That crowd, that rating, embarrassing. So I felt like, I don't know, man. I hear these, I see these takes, and I'm like, damn, dude, you're like 2 years behind. You know, saying shit like this. So I don't know, but what do you make of him? He's going hard. He's included in that video with you. Some would say he was one of the biggest AEW Shillingtons along the way.
Oh, 100%. He's only doing this because he's copying me. He saw how successful I will say, all I have to say about this, so impressed that he fired off a tweet without the N-word. Like, that's improvement. I mean, I was waiting to see, like, oh my God, he's reading a JD tweet. How is he going to get around saying the N-word? There's no N-word to speak of. That is so impressive. Because there are so many people who have a problem with Hulk Hogan. And it's such cowardly because they know Hulk Hogan's not going to see their tweets. They know Hulk Hogan's not going to see you criticizing him for being a racist and saying all this racist stuff. But nobody has that smoke. Or, you know, of course people do, but I've never really hear people go hard at JD from Proud Boys 2'6" for saying racist. And that's a lot of what my channel is talking about Cousin Jerry's racism. So, yeah, you know, it's more garden variety stuff to try to, I guess, you know, be on the right side of history. Who knows? You know, it's just, I will only say that I'm very impressed that I saw that tweet and the N-word wasn't there because I got a little nervous.
You what? Oh my God. So yeah, here's the quote. They quoted you. Dynamite trounces NXT Forbes.
And they did. Those were some of my favorite times watching wrestling, by the way, is that early era of Dynamite where they had good stories. They were hot. They had the momentum. Cody was there, which I think was a huge influence, not only from a wrestling standpoint, but from leadership standpoint, from a storytelling standpoint. I think Cody Rhodes was like kind of the buffer in AEW that helped, like the glue that kept them together. And I called them like I see them. Again, I'm not a big fan of fair. Again, was this being fair? You could look at this and say, oh, look, Alfred's fair. He wrote articles about AEW beating NXT, which I did. But during that time, I was more partial to AEW. WWE sucked. This was 2019 WWE when they had that whole Fiend debacle. And it was like I was more partial to AEW's content because it was better. Like all these people hung up on fair. Like that's why CNN Plus failed, is because CNN is trying to be this brand that's fair. It's like Fox News, which I hate, by the way. Fox News is the number one network because they're biased. Because they do not apologize about their biasness. And it's like, if there is an opinion that you have and you want to niche down and you believe in it, just go with it. Don't try to be fair. You're only going to be in the middle. You're going to get both sides to hate you.
Yeah, it's true. I do like when I pull the fence sitting thing, I call myself fence sitting Phil, and I'll make fun of myself because you gotta stand on your, but sometimes I get it where you're like, you gotta come from give both. Like I'm the type of dude who I just sometimes like to play devil's advocate, like even if I don't even agree with what I'm saying, and I just want to give you the other perspective. I like to do that sometimes too, just to strike up discussion and things like that. But I agree with you. You gotta just like have an opinion, you know what I mean? That's why your channel's blowing up, because you have an opinion, and whether people like it or hate it, I like to think that's why mine's doing pretty good too. Like you're
doing excellent. And the funny thing is people like this whole whether you like it or hate it thing. Whenever I hear whether you love him or hate him, all I hear is whether you love him or love him. Mm-hmm. To me, love and hate are the same exact thing. They will get engagements. We've gone over some tweets of people going out of their way to put my name on the timeline to engagement. It's so funny that they're called followers on Twitter because some of these people think that they're actual followers and they're going to follow everything they say. And the reality of it is, if you say, I hate Alfred, I hate Pro Wrestling Bits, this is a dangerous channel, people aren't going to just look at that and be like, oh, it's dangerous, I'm not going to follow it. These people have minds of their own. They're not only following you, they're following hundreds of other, sometimes thousands of other accounts. So they're going to make their mind up. So most time, if you put my name on your timeline and say, this guy is dangerous, 3 people are going to agree with you and they're going to hate me. But that's going to lead to engagement because they're going to hate watch me. 3 people are going to love me. That's going to lead to engagement because they love me. And then 4 people won't give a shit. But what you've done, 60% of your audience has now converted to become Pro Wrestling Bit subscribers, engagers, commenters, whatever you want to call it. And that all spends the same to me. I love it. So I'm not here to be loved. I'm not here to be hated. I'm here to engage. And whether that's love or hate, it all spends the same to me, and I love it.
Bro, I agree with that fully, dude. And I say it all the time. If someone comes under my video and goes, "You suck and are dumb," or they come under there and go, "I love your channel so much," the algorithm, YouTube, it all reads the same, baby. It's all the same to me.
They can't help themselves.
Did that Dove ad run before that? Because that's all I care about. You know what I mean?
To your point, like, somebody will come on and be like, "I love this channel. This is some of the most, you make such great points." And in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, but just you wait." If I post 5 videos, you're going to disagree with 3 of them, or you know what I mean? 2 of them, maybe. You're going to love 3 of them, but like, just you wait. You give me a month, there's going to be stuff I say that you hate. There's going to be stuff I say that you love, but you're going to be entertained.
Well, speaking of being entertained and love-hate, here's Tony Khan, just being a geek, and let's celebrate it and have a laugh.
Let's go.
We have just secured the bag. Because we have just secured the bag.
Dude, I'm putting that on my soundboard. That is amazing. Oh my God. We just secured the bag, he said.
We've just secured the bag. We have secured the bag. It is secured. It is in the Jacksonville Department of Security. It is secured. I love it.
Dude, I would love to hang out with Tony Khan. I think we'd be bros. Joey Janela confirms something. I saw this earlier. No one's really talking about it. So Janela says this was referring to, pardon me, I'm Meltzering out here. Nick Gage, this is back when he carved, Jericho with the pizza cutter. And then the Domino's ad came up. So I can't play it, or Don Stevens will Don Stevens me. And but yeah, the ad pops up somewhere. I don't know if it's in this video, whatever. Janela piped in and said, "This was 100% unplanned. Domino's was pissed, Tony was pissed, and the network was pissed. I was told you never speak about this again, and you make sure everyone in GCW doesn't ever bring this up on social media, commentary, or whatever again." I was like, what the f does this have to do with me? I didn't book Nick Gage. You wanted Nick Gage and you got Nick Gage. I was guilty by association, LMFAO. So I don't know, dude. We've never heard that side of it. And there you go. He just revealed it was a big deal. It was a huge deal, actually. So I don't know. There you go. They still got a TV deal, baby. But yeah.
Yes. I mean, it really was a big deal. I did hear that from very well-placed sources. You'd be surprised as to where I got them from. Yeah. But I definitely heard, and that's an obvious thing. It's like Pizza Hut's one of your prominent sponsors, and you're using a pizza cutter to make somebody bleed on your national television show. It's like, no, I wouldn't be happy either if my brand was this family-friendly brand, and I see this, and it kind of grosses people out from wanting to eat food, maybe. But it's very interesting that Joey Janela weighed in on this, because it's funny. You do start to hear these stories trickle in when people leave AEW about how much of a disaster it was behind the scenes and continues to be. And this is just another example.
Yeah. Speaking of like a disaster, right? So Tony Khan infamously calls Vince McMahon Harvey Weinstein. And then, we watched the Mr. McMahon documentary comes out. I gave reviews of it all and everything. Everybody's already covered it to death. But Shane McMahon is in that documentary, and he's talking about loyalty. That's a big thing with him. He still sounds like he resents like some of the boys for doing to his dad. So I said this whole notion of Shane McMahon coming into AEW, we saw The Secret. Obviously Tony Khan's assistant taking the picture of Shane and Tony Khan in the room together. We saw the Bucks and Shane were on a plane together. I don't think Shane will ever come in AEW because that loyalty thing. I don't think he could turn his back on like what his dad created and stuff. At least that's the vibe I got from the doc. Maybe I'm entirely wrong. But Alfred, there has been all these rumors. Shane could come in. Could he be the guy to change things around in AEW?
Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. Now, I will say, I'm a strong believer in never say never. So I do think that eventually Shane McMahon is going to be on his way to AEW. If you read the lines with the Whitepool Combat Club promo that they cut at the end of the show, it does kind of sound like maybe Shane McMahon will be their Grand Wizard. But I don't know if Shane's coming in. You make a great point about loyalty, but Vince McMahon got yeeted out of that company, so I don't think the loyalty really applies. And I think the loyalty to his father would be to go to AEW to stick it to those bastards who did his father wrong. So I think that would be an example of undying loyalty to his father in some weird way. It's funny because Shane McMahon talked about UFC and how he wanted to buy UFC and this, that, and the third.
Right.
This is a very similar dynamic. Now, I will say, I don't think Shane McMahon will have a final say or any type of executive influence in AEW. I do think it's going to be more of a creative decision. But Shane McMahon as a character in AEW, it would be another game changer situation where he comes in and it's like, oh, wow, how exciting, Shane's here. And then they don't know what to do and it falls on his face. Shane McMahon as an authority figure, to me, would be even worse. And I'm not saying that I'm not holding my breath for him to be an authority figure. It'll look like that way. People will think that maybe he has some kind of authority, but I don't think they would give him authority in AEW. And if they did, it's like, this is the guy who in his dying days in WWE walked into a backstage Royal Rumble and pitched to beat the hell out of Brock Lesnar and eliminate everybody in Royal Rumble and win from number one or whatever all that stuff was. It's like, this is not the greatest. I've heard enough stories from behind the scene about Shane McMahon's creative influence and how good he is creatively to know that that is the last thing AEW needs. What I will say is AEW, Shane McMahon would be too little, too late. Because what AEW is doing is so ass backwards in such creative malpractice. They did this horrible invasion angle, which with invasion angles, the heat is usually, you see somebody on wrestling TV that's not supposed to be there. Holy, Lance Storm is here, with the WCW invasion. Holy crap, Hall and Nash, Diesel and Razor are here. You know what I mean? It's an invasion. People are, oh my God, Jerry Lawler's in ECW. Like you see somebody who's not supposed to be there. What AEW did with their invasion storyline is the Young Bucks, who are here since day one.
Both of them. Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, the Young Bucks have been here since day one. And then they're invading the company, so there's no heat. And it failed immediately.
And
then
same with the Moxley one.
Yes, in the same summer, they ran it back with John Moxley, who Moxley, even though he's a WWE guy, he's been with AEW since day one. John Moxley is a WWE guy. Yeah. So John Moxley invades AEW, and it's like, my guy, you just failed doing this, not last year, which would have been too soon, in the same summer. Like earlier this summer, you failed doing this, and you're going to do it again, not only with John Moxley, who's an AEW guy, but you're going to remix it as a skinhead stable? Like, what are we doing?
Bro, what do you make of the whole Neo-Moxley stable?
It is a skin. I will not be gaslit into believing it's not a skinhead stable. If you
Bro, people came at me so hard for just pointing out the obvious. I'm like, don't get mad at me. Get mad at them. They're the ones doing it. I'm just telling you what it is. Like,
I'm not mad at anybody. The only thing I'm mad at is the creative direction of the storyline. Let me make myself crystal clear. I'm not the type of person who's going to cancel you for creative expression.
Yeah,
I'm going to go on record as I did on my channel. Because, thoughts are nuanced. Everybody thinks I'm just mad because it's a skinhead staple. No, I'm mad because I'm not mad. I'm making fun of it because it's a skinhead. If these were skinheads who were going full board, like, I don't like any of these black people. Private party. The only parties I like are white parties. Like, I want to go to an all-white party. And AEW under the White Pool Combat Club is going to be an all-white party. If you're cutting promos like that, I'm like, bruh. Like, I want the black stable to come in and beat up these bad guys. Like,
out of them, yeah.
One of my favorite movies is American History X. Here's why I know this is the skinhead stable. It's not like I'm going off and just being this wild man saying these things that I think are going to get reaction. That's obviously part of it, but I went out of my way after learning. Moxley cuts that promo. This is not your company anymore. Yeah. And I didn't know any. I was just like, oh, okay, well, that's an interesting thing to say. And then it started trickling in. Oh, Moxley got that line from Romper Stomper, which is a skinhead movie.
Yep.
Oh, really? So I watched Romper Stomper. It's about these two skinheads who very much reminded me. If you watch Romper Stomper and then you look at how Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli with a K are carrying themselves, this is the inspiration. Like, okay, again, I'm not mad. They were inspired by Romper Stomper, which is a skinhead movie. They've shaved their heads. They have white T-shirts, just like the two skinheads who called me the N-word at a Shell gas station who had white T-shirts. Okay, they're wearing steel-toe boots, just like skinheads. They've got this woman who's speaking Romanian. They're attacking a black stable 1 week in. You cannot tell me this is not a skinhead stable. Like, they're doing all these skinhead-inspired things. Okay, so maybe it's not a skinhead stable, but it is a stable inspired by skinheads, okay?
Yeah.
That's what it's doing, but it's not working. That's what my thing is. And I'm the king of black wrestling media. I cover pro wrestling from a black perspective. So if I'm a black man sitting watching the skinhead stable fall on its face, I'm going to have the funniest jokes for it.
Of course. And also Claudio tweeted out to Moxley like a picture of them, and he said the white tigers, the white knights. Yeah, sorry, the white knights.
Let me tell you something about the white knight. Yeah. I want you, I don't care who you are, go on your Googles right now and just type in the white knight. Don't type in anything else. Just type in the term the white knight. Actually, I want you to do it and tell me what comes up. Because when I type in the white knight and I just type in the white knight or the white knights, the first thing that comes up, or one of the first things that comes up, is white knights of the Ku Klux Klan. So it's like there's no coincidence that he's saying the white knights. They're leaning into skinhead culture. And listen, bad people are bad people. Like AEW is an adult-oriented wrestling program, so they have the leisure where they're not TV PG. And their heels, I want to see more heels who lean into like the type of rotten people are here. I want to see heels who are Trump supporters. I want to see heels who are racist. As a payoff. Like, they're not supporting. You're a heel. Like, it's one thing if you make the baby faced racist. Okay, they don't have a problem philosophically with that. But if you make heels, I want to rage a race war with AEW, and I'm a racist. But then, like, the Hurt Business is going to come in and be the baby faces, and we're going to get okay, tell me a good story. But if it's a skinhead stable, and again, here's the thing. I watched Romper Stomper. Good movie. I would recommend Romper Stomper. It's a solid movie. But after watching that, watching AEW, it's like watching Shakespeare in the Park. It's like you're watching a version of Romper Stomper.
Oh, yeah. See, I won't watch it because I just have zero interest in it. But yeah, I covered it on the show. There's some guy with a YouTube channel himself who breaks down scene for scene how Moxley, I EFAP'd it. And Moxley, he does scene for scene. He did it with Shivani, the way he like pokes at him and all that stuff. But bringing it back to Shane, though, do you think Shane?
We're just like, hey, so what about Shane McMahon? Yeah, they're doing a skinhead still.
No, well, we got to talk about it. That's why you're here, bro. Yeah. But to bring it back to Shane, though, because you had said something, he could be the Grand Wizard. Do you in this fictional thing, right? Not in real life, folks. So, why does Shane do this? For money? To get back at WWE? Would he take part in a Neo-Moxley angle? Do you think that's like is that something even he creatively? I know we kind of touched on it, but I just don't see what would be in it for Shane. He doesn't need money, but the documentary, and we all just know, if you're a Mark, like his creativity, his dad never really gave him that, validation, sort of the way like Vince's dad never gave him the validation. So I could see maybe that being motivation. But what would be the point? Oh, we're going to take down WWE or like help them with, I just don't see what he could do other than show up and be a TV character. And like you said, it would be too little too late. So like, what do you think the motivation would be like, or could you elaborate on that a bit more?
It's not a war against WWE. Like they're waging war against AEW. So what you do need is somebody who, from a perception standpoint, is not supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. It's like we're going to take over AEW. Well, you do that with somebody prominent name from outside of AEW. And Shane McMahon fits the bill. But yes, like we've been talking about.
Does he give it about that, though? Sorry to interrupt.
Right. Like it's too little too late. I don't think he does give it about that.
Yeah,
I don't know what his angle would be in terms of like, I get it from a standpoint of we're going to wage war on AEW. Okay, Shane McMahon is here to take over AEW. But the whole like nuances of like Shane McMahon's not going to shave his head. I don't think he's going to shave his head. I don't think Shane McMahon is going to kind of lead. I think he's just going to be the leader. And I think I don't think any of his rhetoric is going to tie into Romper Stomper or to what John Moxley and them are leaning into. But I do think he's going to be the overlord and the Grand Wizard.
I just don't know. So he's going to go ahead like with WWE. You think like really? I just don't know if he would do that. I'm so torn on it, but I guess maybe that's a bit. If he does show up, I'll pop for it. I'll be like, holy shit, they actually did something kind of crazy. But unless the story,
this might be a ploy for Shane McMahon. This might be a game Shane McMahon is playing to get back into WWE. Let me tell you something right now. I don't care what anybody says. WWE, that competitive spirit that defined Vince McMahon still runs through the veins of WWE. These people who run WWE, a lot of stuff they learn from Vince McMahon. That's why he's not been wholesale canceled by the people within WWE. You still hear Mercedes Moné was saying stuff about Vince McMahon to his defense, like, but this is a woman in wrestling who was done wrong by Vince McMahon, who is still somewhat taking up for Vince. So that competitive nature of WWE seeing that Shane McMahon might go to AEW, I haven't heard anything, but I just know enough about WWE and how they operate to know. I can guarantee you, calls have been made to Shane McMahon to the degree of what's it going to take for you to show up on Bad Blood this weekend, I'm not saying that this
I know you're not saying, I'm
saying that WWE wants the moment that there's so much energy of Shane McMahon might go to AEW. WWE is dying for, at the very least, that moment of Shane McMahon doing his strut out onto the stage, of a WWE show, whether it's a surprise Royal Rumble appearance, I don't know. But WWE does not want Shane McMahon on AEW television. It wouldn't mean anything. I don't think it would. It would be a temporary pop like what every AEW free agent is. But this is a game that I think Shane McMahon might be playing to get back in the good graces of WWE. But I don't think he would be opposed to go to AEW.
What's his theme song? Here comes the dollars. Dollar, 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 dollar.
Here comes the skinhead. Here comes the Nazi. Here comes the Nazi. Nazi.
Oh man, no, dude. Especially if he
like good stepping instead of strutting.
And
listen, Shane McMahon has always been the blackest McMahon. He wears Jordans and whatnot, so maybe he'll balance out the culture of the White Pool Combat Club.
Yeah, dude, he loves baseball jerseys and dollar bills, y'all. Right? So Monet, though, you brought her up, and is this how Monet spells her name? Because that accent is backwards, bro. Like, I'm French. This Monet, that's an eh sound, not an a sound. The accent has to go the other way for it to be an a sound, at least en français. But she was talking about Shane, and she goes, seeing Shane's incredible heart and passion for wrestling makes me think he has a lot of unfinished business. It also makes me think, is Shane coming to AEW? I'm here for it, and I'm sure our roster is too. Regardless, it just seems like Shane belongs in the wrestling business. I admit it, if he doesn't come back to wrestling, it will make me sad for him. So that was in her magazine, and in the same edition, she also put over Vince, sort of like you said. Well, not put him over, but was like,